This is a new SEC podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Randall Liddell Jr. We got Hunter Ziesman here, and today we're talking Alabama football. We want to know, and we're going to talk about, is 9.5 a lock for Alabama football this season? The sights are set pretty high. A lot of people have them in the playoffs. Some people have them winning the SEC championship. Vegas thinks they should win over 9.5 games. But what do we think here in the new SEC podcast?
I think this Alabama team is going to be better than last year. I think that there's not really any reason to look at this team and expect them to be worse. I think a 9-win team last year, 9-3 on the regular season, was disappointing for fans who have been used to more. But if you look at this roster compared to some other teams in the SEC that are going to experience some drop-offs, Alabama is a team that is returning so many players, both sides of the ball, and the offense should be shifting more to what Kalen DeBoer wants. Now, I'm a guy who's not going to dog on Jalen Milroe last year. I think that he was a good player. I think he just got a little bit more hate than was deserved. But a good thing about Ty Simpson is we're getting closer to the offense that Kalen DeBoer will strive with. So I'm excited for what this Alabama team can do. I like over 9.5, and there's enough reasons on this roster to say why.
Yeah, and I like that number, and I can tell you a couple of reasons why. I think a lot of people have been talking about this offense and, bringing in Isaiah Horton in from Miami, bringing in Jeremy Bernard, who I'm super hot on. I think he's going to have a breakout year. He's kind of been under the radar in some ways, but it's really this defense, right? They return a ton of production at linebacker, got Keon Saab coming back. They lost, some solid guys, Malachi Moore from last season, but this defense, I think, is what's going to anchor this team. And you mentioned there's not any question marks. How are you feeling about Ty Simpson when it comes to this 9.5 win total?
I feel good about him. I mean, I know there's some question marks to use that term around him because you looked at what Milroe did at times last year, and Simpson still wasn't enough to break that starting rotation. Like, should he have, if he was good enough to lead this team this year, should he have been in there when we were seeing Milroe struggle in games like Oklahoma last season? I do think that he is a more prototypical quarterback that DeBoer can work with. I think we'll see more of the Michael Penix Jr. offense that was ran at UW that DeBoer took to the playoff, to the national championship in his second season at UW. I think we see something similar here. Sit in the pocket, work the sidelines, get a lot of receivers involved, stretch the field. I think it's more of an offense that will thrive in the SEC. You also get the running backs more involved by having a quarterback that's a pocket passer. If they do go, RPO style, it's less QB keeper. It's more running back will run, quarterback will pass. So I think Jam Miller is going to get a ton of touches this year. I think it was disappointing to see the running backs not get the love that they probably deserved last season.
Yeah, and I know we did a video about Texas A&M and how great their backfield was, and you shouted out at the end that this backfield for Alabama could definitely carry some weight. They lost one of their star running backs to Michigan, but Jam Miller seems prepared to kind of carry the rock, and they got some other guys coming in as well behind them on the depth chart.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with any of the guys on this depth chart from a running back position. You got Jam Miller. You've seen the photo going around the internet of this guy looking absolutely massive and probably untackleable. But you bring in a Kalen Deere right now, who is 5th on the depth chart, 5-star freshman running back. You got Richard Young returning last year. He had a bit of an injury shakeup during the season. You're going to have a team that's going to be able to run the ball. Yep. And I think that last year, so much of the pressure was put onto Milroe's legs. Now you get these guys who are going to be able to open the field up. Ryan Williams returning production, Jeremy Bernard returning production, Isaiah Horton experience. You got Jalen Mbakwe coming over from the defense to the offense. He'll be, added depth when you got Jalen Hale. You got everyone. You have such a deep team across the board. Tight ends as well. You're just returning so much. You got a great, probably one of the best O linemen returning in Caden Proctor. Yep. You bring in Texas A&M starting lineman. Right now, the offense I think will be just fine with Ty Simpson.
And you expect it with the head coach and Kalen DeBoer. He brought in his buddy from the Seattle Seahawks, right, to run the OC side as well. So a lot of things seem to be playing in their favor. So when we take a look at the schedule, 9.5 wins. I mean, to go over, you got to go 10. Of course, that's what math does. But where do you see the 10 wins coming from?
Yeah, I think to take a 10 win, to bet on the over 9.5 with Alabama, you're betting almost more on what you think about the teams that they're playing are. They play a lot of teams that we don't know what they're going to be like. Florida State, Wisconsin, really Georgia with turnover, Tennessee with turnover, Auburn and Oklahoma hoping to be better than last year. So it's what do you think about these teams that they're playing? I think that right now Alabama has too much strength to show in returning players and returning production for a team like Florida State, for a team like really, I mean, Georgia at this point in the season, it'll be their fourth game. You hope that if you're Georgia, you're hoping that you're settled in at that point. You're coming off of a game at Tennessee. You have a bye week. I think that they're going to play teams at the right time in this season to hit 10 wins. Now, could they lose 2 games? Could they lose 3 games? Yeah. Could they lose 2 games? Absolutely. I think a road game at Georgia, LSU, you play Oklahoma again. We saw how that game went last season. You do hit a road game at Auburn, which could always be tricky too.
I think what was interesting about last season, and I don't love talking about last season, but what was interesting about last season was when they lost games to teams that seemingly were less talented than them. And talent obviously matters, but it's more about how you play in between the lines. But when you talk about this team having more talent than other teams in the conference, it's like, how do I not predict that they're going to win more games this year when the only losses they had last year were to teams that were less talented than them, right? Georgia almost came back. They pulled that off against that team. Georgia's probably equal talent with them. Vanderbilt is not equal talent with them. They return a lot of production and they have, obviously some continuity and some team chemistry, but those guys are not more talented players than Bama. So when I think about getting to that 10-win total, I'm like, I don't expect them to trip up against Missouri. They have more talent on their team. South Carolina played them close. I think that's a game they could play close, and then this year it's on the road, and there's a little bit of kind of the redemption game. I saw the comments, and people were talking about how Lenore Sellers, overthrew a pass in the end zone that forced them to lose. That happens, but that's a game where I think Alabama could trip up, but that still gives them 11 other games to be able to hit that over for the 9.5 as well.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be too strong, and we talk so much about the offense, but I think returning talent, you have guys who are going to have less mistakes. We saw a lot of mistakes that lost in those games to inferior opponents. Vanderbilt guys getting open behind or just poor communication, but you return, the linebacking core with
Overton's coming back.
Jefferson. I think the Overton first round grade for me, I think he's going to be in a lot of conversations at the end of the season, looking kind of like a great NFL talent to be able to provide a guy who's big enough to play defensive tackle, has the speed of an edge. A lot of teams are going to have to plan around him. I think he's going to be first round conversation, no doubt. You bring in Cam Calhoun, Utah cornerback. You bring in Nikal Hill-Green from Colorado to add to that linebacker room. Damani Jackson returned. He could have gone last season. I feel like I'm just sitting here hyping up this Alabama team. Now, there is room for mistakes, and it's going to be an Oklahoma team. It's going to be an Auburn team. Georgia. You play Tennessee. We don't know.
Lost Tennessee last year. So
I like them at home. They're 37-2 at home since 2020. And they've won SEC games at home by a differential of 15.9 points per game. So,
and all 3 losses last year were on the road, right? OU on the road, Tennessee on the road, Vandy on the road, Vandy on SEC Network. No one was even watching.
Yeah. So you put yourself in a position when your road games are going to be Georgia, Missouri, Auburn, and South Carolina. If you only want to win, if you only need to lose 2 games on a season, not to plan to lose, but you could lose to Georgia, you could lose to South Carolina, still find yourself in playoff contention. 2 lost teams, you still could find yourself in SEC championship contention to potentially be in that game, depending on the round robin of how the season works out. So I'm taking Alabama over 9.5. I like what this team does. I have them 11-1 with a loss to Georgia. I don't want to see that, but I could see it happening. It's tough to play in Athens.
I feel like they carve their path to the SEC championship if you win 2 of these 3 games. If you beat Alabama, or not Alabama, you beat Georgia, you beat LSU, chances are it's going to be Texas or South Carolina at the top trying to fight for those 2 spots, right? If you beat South Carolina, LSU, and Georgia, I'd be hard-pressed to see what other teams are fighting for an SEC championship spot unless it's coming from a Florida or an Auburn, which you're playing Auburn, so you'd have to beat them to get there. So it really would be them going against either a Florida or a Texas or A&M. Those are probably the 3. That would be new territory for 2 of those one of those three teams. That'd be new territory for A&M to be in that spot.
Yeah. I mean,
And
if
new
you're
territory
Alabama,
for Florida for Napier to be in that spot too.
So I like the chances for Alabama this year. I'm taking over 9.5. Let us know what you guys think. Do you think that they hit the over 9.5? Do you think they're under by a lot? Do you expect a progression from this team? Let us know. And as always, like, subscribe. I'm Hunter Ziesman. He's Randall Liddett Jr. You're listening to the New SC podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.